Here we are at another session of Old Fools Talking Old School. And I don't know why we keep getting on this religion kick. I guess that's what happens when you're totally unscripted. Well, we hope you enjoy.
Go to church on Sunday, you go to church on Sunday. Everybody go to church on Wednesday, you go to church on Wednesday. If we do this, whatever it might be, then if that's what they do over here, that's what we going to do over here. There wasn't no individualism. Everybody did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because God forbid, them old like dresses they used to put them girls in, and you come in with a miniskirt, boy, you was ostracized.
Oh, yeah.
Look at her fast ass. You know, she's, so judgmental, about somebody who is a bit different. And I'm glad it's away from that kind of stuff right there. Because the image was everything to the folks back then. What do you think? What do you think people are gonna say? As opposed to today, give a shit what they say. As long as I ain't harming nobody, ain't doing nothing illegal, because folks gonna talk anyway.
Oh yeah, and like I say, it was the same way we were growing up. Like I say, we went to church and everything was there every Sunday. Friday and Saturday night we were out causing as much hell and devilment as anybody, but long as we were there church Sunday morning, everything was okay.
Yep.
And I never quite understood that, where I'm like, it's almost like as long as you show up for church, everything that you did on Friday, Saturday night is forgiven. It's okay. I never quite understood that, but like you say, there was that image.
Yeah.
They wanted to portray back in during that time. And as long as you went to church, just sort of do whatever you want to do on the other part of the weekend, to show up for church Sunday morning. That was, some of the ones that showed up for church, that was, deacons in the church, were the same ones out there running with you on Friday and Saturday night.
You better know it.
Like, wait a minute, this can't be right.
Mm-hmm. Sneaking around.
Mm-hmm.
Got a second family. You folks, boy, it's just something else, man, when you're out there trying to pretend to be, again, back to that holier than thou. Hey, live your life the best you can, and stop, trying to judge everybody else. Because like you were saying, all them people that hated gay people, then come to find out they gay themselves.
Well, yeah, you found that a lot of times. That was almost like the persona they wanted to pursue, because that was the going thing. That was the image everybody was looking for, only to find out they were doing a lot of the same thing that they was up there, broadcasting against all this time,
Yeah, man. That's why I say it's a great thing to aspire to be as much like the Lord that you can be, but don't get up here and act like you the next perfect person, because you ain't. You're not. You're perpetrating a fraud up there, holier than thou. And now jackleg preachers up in the pulpit, looking at them big legs down in there. Why don't you gentlemen get up and let these ladies sit down? I hope the hell I do. Shit. I got up early to get here to get me a seat. And now she want to sashay her ass in here late, and you want to trying to play that chivalrous game. I ain't chivalrous, goddammit. We ain't finna get up. That happened that one Easter there. I told Roslyn, I ain't never coming back in this joint. It ain't God's house. It's the people that's in it that makes it what it is. But why don't you gentlemen get up and let these ladies sit down so I can look at them big old legs?
Yeah. If they had got up and got ready and got here on time, they'd have a seat.
Nah, they wanted to wait till everybody's in there so you can see me walk all the way down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
I got up early to get here so I could sit with my family. Now you're gonna ask me to get up. I hope I do. I'm gonna treat that just like I'm gonna treat that the second time you send that plate around for some money, or the third time. Yeah, man. I don't know. I know there's some good preachers out there, but there's sure a bunch of them out there that's trying to get over.
Yeah, yeah. It happens. It happens, and I guess in some ways it's sort of a tough road to travel anyway, because everybody's looking at you almost like you said before, that you are perfect.
Hmm.
Because of the fact that you are a preacher, you're supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to do everything right and those kind of things. And as the saying goes, they're only human too.
Yeah,
They're only human. They make mistakes, and just like the rest of us, they're just in a position where they're trying to, as I call it, interpret the Bible, because
exactly.
I still say that, the Bible has been rewritten so many times, and there's
Yeah,
so many different, versions of it now and stuff. I don't know what is really what you consider the true Bible and the true teachings. And in some cases I see where, uh, you know people are saying things, and it's almost like, well, this is my opinion of
well,
what
exactly.
what that passage meant. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if that's your opinion, then obviously I can have my opinion and somebody else can have their opinion,
That's
because
right.
it's not based on any kind of fact by any means. You're saying this is how you look at it.
That's right. Your doctrine, and just like any text that you read, 15 people can read it and come away with 15 different things.
Hmm.
So that's why ever since I've been a man to discern those kind of things, I'm like, just teach me the word in there. They'll read a passage and then they'll try to personalize it with their own biases. Now just say exactly what God said. He don't need you to correct him or to explain his situation. If you're teaching the Bible, the flock will understand that. But you want
Yeah.
to put your little tidbit in there, and not everybody that went to that seminary, they might have known where to go and find passages, but they didn't all learn nothing like any school. They going as they go along. And I know I had on good word that a lot of these pastors in different cities, they they pass their sermons along. They ain't doing no Bible study to dig. Not all of them, but a lot of them. That's what they do. They pass the sermons around.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I was talking. Hell, I can't even remember who I was talking to now because I wouldn't have never known. But we were talking about. Uh, I think it might have been here. Uh, one of the things, how we do in our community. Not everybody, but they have a church that be bustling, and then all of a sudden a new church come along. Everybody start going there, and so I was told that what they do is, especially when one of your great tithers is thinking about moving to another church, then they hold each other accountable to call that other church to let them know what's going on, so they can have an opportunity to keep them there at the church.
Right.
So that's about money. that ain't about the word, or if you doing it right and delivering the word, that'll keep them there. As opposed to yeah, man. If one of my good ones call, I mean, want to join your church, let me know so I can at least try to get them back. I'm like, man, come on, what is this? Is a hustle. So
And it makes you wonder, well, why would they be considering? Now, of course, I know there's sometimes a situation, and they've had a lot of that, in churches back home. They're, difference of opinion, because, just like
hmm
society in general, cliques started to form.
right,
There was this clique, and then there was that clique, and they had, the ones that they liked, and there was some that liked, the preacher, and others who didn't like the preacher,
Yep.
and then they would call it, they would say they broke away from the church and they started their own church out here, and I always like, well, how does that happen?
Hmm.
Aren't isn't there supposed to be one word, one Bible, one testimony? I mean, well, that it got to be that human factor.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
got away a lot from the teachings of the Bible and stuff. It got to be that human factor of, like I say, these little cliques start to form, and then they didn't like the direction that things were going, so they went out and started their own place,
Right.
kind of thing. But yeah, that happened a lot. I would listen to some of the older folks talk about, well, those are the people who used to go over there, blah blah. They started that church over there, and they had a big falling out and things. And I'm thinking, if you think there's ever a place that everybody should be able to get along, you think it would be church. you
Exactly.
know, but they had a big falling out, and they went and started their own place over there because so and so, they didn't like the preacher and they thought he was.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, the church is exempt from those same social issues that everything else has happened.
Yeah. But you got those elders in there who gonna demand respect because I've been here for 50 years and
Mm-hmm.
this is the way we've always done it. And turn around and say, these young kids, they don't want to do nothing. Well, why don't you sit down off the Urshan board and let some youngness come up in there and do something? But you don't want to give up your status. Uh, you got a lady up there reading the announcements and talking about the sick and shut in. Look like she needed to be at home herself, sick and shut in. She's so old, but you don't want to relinquish the position because you got a position to let some of the youth get in there. So it's a double-edged sword. I'm not saying just because you're old that you should just sit down, but hell, if you're gonna stay up there forever, what do you expect these young kids to do?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah,
uh,
and the churches. Well, I mean, I can't speak for all of them, but the ones around here are really having a problem attracting the young
the
folks.
young, yeah,
And
yeah,
just like you were just saying earlier, it was almost that tradition of, you brought your kids to church, as a mother and father, and they grew in the church and they became members, and then that generational thing went on, and then that started to stop,
hmm,
and a lot of the churches around here are saying the same thing. There's not a lot of youth in the church. It's a lot of the old folks, and that those old folks now have sort of lost touch with how to reach out to the young people and kind of
hmm,
thing. And
hmm,
they don't have the young people in the church for them to reach out to their peers kind of
right,
thing.
exactly,
And they're really struggling right now with that. And this, I mean, it's not just in churches. I mean, there's other institutions. I know I'm part of the uh, genealogy society, and they're
hmm,
having the same problem. No young people want to come in and learn about history and their families and things of that nature, and things that, and it's just starting to be that kind of issue, not only like say in church but other things. And I think some of it is the fact that the youth of today have far more outlets and choices than we did.
sure,
It was like, yeah, when you only had a couple channels on TV and there was no such thing as Game Boys and PlayStations and all that kind of stuff, church was a very viable avenue for learning and also almost like entertainment. I mean,
yeah, it was
church was a
social,
center part of your
yeah,
social life.
yeah,
Well, there's a lot of things now that have sort of stepped in and taken that away. I think, the younger generations tended to question the
yep,
the church and the church's role, more than probably we did, because it was like, you just shut up and listen to what the preacher had to say because that's the way things are, kind of thing. The younger generation started questioning that, and I think they even started questioning the institution of church. You
yeah,
know, so as a result, I know a lot of them around here are having a problem, attracting, youth into churches, into religion in general.
yeah. Well, it's the old heads in there that's running them off because I ain't gonna say they the sole reason, but these kids are better. They got access to a lot of information that can satisfy some curiosity. And then if you go to a lot of these people that so-called have been in the church all these years, you ask a question, hell, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's just in a sense, do what I say. Don't. It ain't for you to question. Just do what that's the way it's supposed to be. No,
Right,
that
right.
ain't good enough. You know, and uh, I got a partner here who's I don't know what his title is in the church, but he's in there with the deacons and the pastor and all of that kind of stuff. You got some old heads in there that want things to stay the same. This preacher is new, because half of them didn't like him because he come in with some innovative ideas, which some were to attract the youth, but they didn't
Hmm.
like that.
Right.
Then when the youth start coming, they get a lot of the students. As a matter of fact, he was telling me some of the young ladies, years ago that started coming there from down at OU. Well, now they members of the church. They're doctors and lawyers and just all kind of things. That kind of stuck with it. But they ran off. A vast majority of them, them old dancing on the pole girls now standing at the front door. Now that dress is too short. You need to go home and change. Now, and from what I understand, I'm damn sure ain't no uh, uh, scholar of the Bible, but I thought I heard them say, he said, "Come as you are."
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
they wasn't buck naked, but they were just wearing the trends that their kids wear shorter clothes and tight.
Hmm.
You know, and that's too tight. You need to go home. You're not dressed appropriately. Well, hell, okay, I'm gonna go home, and I ain't coming back here. That's who run them off, all them. And she know damn well 40 years ago when her little fast ass was out there, she had on something revealing too. And now you sitting up here and want to crack on these girls. And the smart thing to do is if you feel so uh, some kind of way about how she's dressed, well then bring her on in and see if you can persuade her to change it. But all this, you know, singling and calling out, it just ain't no way to do stuff, man.
And I think too today, especially with all the non-denominational churches that have sprung up, the
Yep.
churches that just, Mickey Gwynn decide I'm gonna start my own church, and you can come to the church of Mickey Gwynn, and we do things like that. We invite girls with the short dresses. We invite girls with the tight dresses. And yeah, I mean, you got choices now.
Yes.
If you think my skirt is too short, if you think I need to be in a suit and tie on Sundays, I can go find a place where I ain't got to do that. And
That's right.
guess what? Supposedly they're teaching the same thing you're teaching. They're
Right.
teaching the Bible too,
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's been a difference too, is that there are those institutions out there now that are a lot more, I'd say, liberal than in years past.
Hmm.
And a lot of people flock to those. I used to, when we grew up, you went to church. If you were a man, you had a suit on. If you were a young guy,
Yes,
you had a
sir.
button down shirt and probably some black slacks on and things of that nature.
Yes, sir.
And as I was, we went to a church with a friend that I worked with, and I walked in there that day and I saw guys in there in jeans and polos and things. And I almost took a gasp when I saw
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
that was the way things were.
That's
And
right.
I've seen that more and more as we moved down here, and I would go to church with my uncle and my mom. That's the trend. It's sort of that, like you say, come as you are. If all you can sort of afford is jeans and a t-shirt, you come to church in a jean and t-shirt. We
Yep.
want you to be in church so we can, teach you, the Bible and the word, as they say, kind of thing.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, but there's some that didn't want to give up that old way of doing things. So that few youth that they had to choose from chose to go to other places where, they had it. To me, the Church of Christ, what I grew up in, was a perfect example. There was a lot of young people who didn't go to the Church of Christ because the Baptist and the Methodist Church had choirs and they had musical
Music.
instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had music and stuff like that. That attracted them,
Hmm.
and they would go and join those churches. And some of them, parents or whatever, weren't so much affiliated with the Church of Christ anyway. They were just sort of coming on their own kind of thing. But when they started finding out about these choirs and the musical instruments and things of that nature, we couldn't hold them, couldn't hold on to them. You know,
That's right.
that piqued their interest more than just the singing, the a cappella singing that happened in the Church of Christ. So yeah, it was almost a little bit of a competition, almost like you mentioned, for members,
Hmm.
kind of thing. And if you can provide them something that piques their interest, it probably ain't gonna take a whole lot for them to go there versus
That's
coming
right.
coming to the place that my grandmama went to and my mama went to, kind of thing.
Hmm. I went to when my auntie died. She went to a Church of Christ, and we went to the funeral. I quite enjoyed the men up there stomping their feet, clapping their hand, and singing.
Hmm.
I quite
Hmm.
enjoyed that, as opposed to now. See, when I was young and was going to church, we pretty much seemed like every black church was kind of like that until they started being able to afford a piano and an organ.
Right,
Even the
right.
Baptist churches. And but when they got them, uh, uh, it just seemed like nice. And I tell you, for me personally, the Church of Christ, like when she passed away, it was a sad day and all that. But I was not near as emotional as that. That dang organ just prompts you to get emotional, man. When
Mm,
you in that church and playing that sad sack music, they call it a celebration, but they play that old sad music. And I'm like, man, it's easy to lose your water on that. But Church of Christ, when they just singing a cappella and stomping their feet, it's not as pronounced and dramatic as the preacher say a word, dun, 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 and then they start that whining ass thing in there, and I'm like, oh Lord, makes you sad, prompts you to be sad. So
yeah, and I know I went to the first AME service I had gone to. My cousin was AME, and I had never been. I'd been to Baptist. Marion was Baptist, so we used to go over there to Macedonia over off Acme
hmm
Road. Back
yeah,
in the day.
we used to go over there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we used to go over there to Macedonia, and matter of fact, first time she invited me to church. I want you to go to church with me. I said, okay. I said, I know you go to a Baptist church. I'm just going to say before I go, you know, we ain't gonna do no shouting and we ain't gonna do no running up and down, running up and down the aisle if I'm going. And she said, I don't do that stuff anyway. I said, I'm just gonna let you know because I know what goes on, kind of thing. Of
hmm
course, coming from a Church of Christ, that was a lot more than by all means than we did. But
hmm
I went to this AME service for my cousin, and they had the organ, the piano, the drums, the bass, the lead guitar. I mean, they had a full fledged band in there,
hmm
and they were synchronized with the pastor. I mean, they
Yeah.
were synchronized to the point to where he
hmm
would make a high sort of high pitched comment, and here go the organ, and then that
Yeah.
kind of thing, and he was running around, and he jumped up in a chair that he sat in behind the pulpit. He jumped up in the chair and stuff like that. And I say the same thing, right? I ain't never had that kind of feeling come over me in my life. I'm like, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, what is this? What is this that I'm feeling? Because
Yeah.
yeah, when they get to going and the music, I mean, it just was just perfectly synchronized with the preacher and things of that nature. And oh man, and when they got wound up, this one brother he was over there doing the running man, and there was another sister. I'm like, I'm looking around, and like you say, Church of Christ, you might slap your thigh and stomp your feet. That's
Yeah.
about as emotional as anybody get. And I mean, this guy was over there going off, and this one girl, of course, she was shouting, she was doing around, and she fell out, and the ushers,
Oh
the
yeah.
ushers came over there, and they was fanning her and stuff like. And I'm thinking, boy, this is a whole lot different than I'm used to.
Just a show because she didn't bump her head when she fell out, did she?
No, no.
Yeah, exactly. Man, that trips me out. And see, I grew up in a Baptist church,
Hmm.
and Rosin grew up in an AME church. And I'll never forget somebody asked me, said, "Well, who's gonna convert? I said, hell, ain't nobody convert. We all believe in God, and we don't play that crap because you Catholic, the one got to convert to their. Oh, no, we don't play that. And but their church, because when I went there for the first time, they had an older pastor. Matter of fact, he married us, and
Hmm.
he was from the old school. He was just calm and quiet. You know, they uh they had an organ in there, but it wasn't, you know, synchronized to him. But he just talked and said the word, and all that, and I liked it,
Right.
and so because I didn't know what to expect at a Methodist church, and even at our Baptist church, we had an organ and a piano. That was it when I was going there as a
Hmm.
kid. Man, you leave and you come back, they got the drum thing up there with the plexiglass so it
Around
don't
it, yeah.
interfere. And now we ain't have no band, no music director. We had an organ player. Now they got all the records. And then we went to Roslyn Church, same thing. I'm like, man, I was like, is this Baptist or is this Methodist over here? They doing the same thing, man. So it's all, you know, I guess it's entertainment. I guess we got to do something to try to keep them here because they had one little preacher over there. I would have sworn thought he was at a Baptist church. You know, up there preaching and walking the aisles and get that when they get that little cadence.
Hmm.
I'm like, speak up, nigga. I can't hear what you saying. So
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it's it's gonna turn into a money making deal, man. As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And it has started to go away from the way it used to be. Now, is the way it used to be the right way or what? I don't know if there is a
Hmm.
right way. I think it sort of has changed with the time because I think those kind of things attract people. I mean, you got your, used to, even though we didn't have choirs, I know when we'd go to Macedonia to a Baptist church, they had the men's choir and the women's choir. Well, they got the men's choir and the women's choir. Then they got the praise dancers and they got all these other
Yeah.
kind of things that are going on now. And I'm thinking, goodness, we've gotten so far away from how things used to be. And once again, I ain't saying that how things used to be was right. I mean, the right way. I'm
Hmm.
not trying to say that, but
Hmm.
yeah, some of them are taking on a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
I
It,
guess is the
it,
word.
I still. Uh, my partner that's up there in Nashville, he's a preacher. I asked him, I said, is it wrong for me? But I don't understand all this praise dancing up here in them little skimpy outfits and bucking and jucking and doing all that kind of stuff. He explained it to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Don't ask me what he said, because, he went deep into the Bible about some names that I hadn't heard before, and this is what oh, okay, so it's justifiable, huh? Okay. All right. So everybody's got praise dancing. I got the
Yeah,
kids praise dancing.
yeah. But the thing that I say about that is, if there's justification for it now, obviously there was justification for it 30 years ago.
Right.
They didn't have it 30 years ago. So where did it come from? The Bible ain't changed in 30 years.
Right.
So
Right.
if it was justification, it's almost like somebody sort of, I don't put it that way, but somebody found a loophole. Say, hey, we can
Hmm.
do this because if we go in here and we interpret this particular passage this way, we can say that that's what we need to do. Well, that passage has been there for thousands of years now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean,
I think some of it is too that you know. Uh, just truth be told, uh, back in the day, them pastors wasn't the most brilliant people in the world. Them politicians was paying them under the table to get black folks to vote their way, and that's pretty much all they gave anybody a divinity degree that could lead black folks to the polls for them, and taking that money under the table because the church and state supposed to be separated. But
right.
uh, I remember as a little kid, because I used to always wonder why a white man coming in this church, but it was election time. Didn't know
Hmm.
that at the time, and the preacher would be right up there skinning and grinning. Well, as time has gone by, in my opinion, uh, the preachers have gotten a little more sophisticated, so they can get it that way. But that's what they used to do. Because again, them brothers would get up there and then start. Uh, I guess that was their simulation of speaking in tongues, and and da 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 da, and they ain't saying jack. You know, get that organ in there synchronized with it, like you said, and
Yeah, yeah,
and and you think you done been saved when you get up and walk out of there because you feel some kind of way. You know, it's just But when I got up some size and noticed it, I was more enamored on those times that I went with people that just talk out of the passage.
right, right.
You know, because that's what you're gonna learn. Because in these average churches you go to where they do all that hoopla, soon as they walk out the door, you can say, "Well, so what did you learn today?" They couldn't tell you because they ain't learned nothing. They just been privy to the show.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of it
Hmm.
is the show
Yep.
aspect of it, you know. But like I say, it's when one of them deep subjects when it comes to the religion and things of that nature,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I guess I don't know if there's ever a true one way path around because I was going somewhere the other day and I went by this Catholic church and I was saying to myself, now where did Catholicism come from? You know, I know a little bit about where Judaism comes from and the Muslims and things of that nature. And I'm thinking, how did we get to this point? You know, because
Hmm.
you're thinking, well, there's only one Bible and one God and this kind of thing, and I'm like, how did we get there? Now, what is going to be, sort of their pathway? I don't know that much about the Catholic religion, but I know it's a very large religion, and I'm like, well, where did the Pope come from? You know, why are
Hmm.
we listening and going by what the Pope says, kind of thing? So
Hmm.
yeah, it's just a very confusing. I don't know what the word philosophy, ideas, whatever. It
Hmm.
just to me, it's just always been very confusing on
Well, I
where
mean,
we are today.
it's hard to get a straight story out of it, but the Crusaders, that's all they were doing. They were just trying to convert people over
Yeah, yeah.
to their way of thinking, and it's the same thing here. That's why this hatred of Islam here is because it's antithetical to what their doctrine is, which their doctrine really is to enslave folks. Really, when you think about it, some of the stuff that they used in their interpretation of the Bible to justify slavery, to justify all of the stuff that they're doing. So, uh, uh, and in those humanity classes that we took in college, I was shocked when I found out that Islam is the only true religion that has never changed its Bible. It's the same as it was.
Hmm.
Now, how many versions of Christianity Bible that we got? You got King James, you got Church of England, you got a hell of a bunch of them, and my question, just like you were talking about a minute ago, if we all believe in God, what are all the differences? Why has everybody got a different version?
Hmm.
One says you can't wear pants, the other one says you can't do this and you can't do that. That's man shit. That's some man done decided,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, how he
yeah,
wants to do that. Well, that ain't what God's word ain't flexible. God said it and that's it.
yeah. And I was, you know, thinking when I did this little thing. I think I told you back during Black History Month. I was doing some research on this old church that is in a community it's about 10 miles outside of McMinnville. And I was doing reading a research project that a historian had done on that church. And they were making light of the fact that the the plantations owners there brought their slaves to church with them.
Yeah.
They brought their slaves to church with them. And I'm saying, okay, I'm going in a house of worship where I'm going to talk about, basically humanity and we're all one people and things of that nature. But here I have my slaves next to me who are you know, enslaved. You know,
Hmm.
that supposedly I own a person kind of thing. And I'm like, how do you justify that? I guess I mean, I guess obviously in their beliefs, having slaves was okay. I mean, they must have believed that that was not a sin, and I'm
Right.
not saying it was. I mean, I'm not, as you said, I'm not a religious philosopher to say, yeah. I mean, but obviously they didn't think that was a sin, obviously, because they brought them to church with them.
Yeah. But they
You know,
use that to justify the cruelty and the way they treated them. Yet in the next verse, they want to be up there about how to treat your fellow man.
yeah, yeah,
You
that's what
know.
I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't see how you rectify the two.
Exactly.
Yeah, we gotta stop talking about religion. It's just too complicated, and we don't want to step on nobody's toes. But we hope you enjoyed this session of Old Fools Talking Old School. Check you next time. Peace.